Hey everybody, it's Andre with the Eaglesoft Field Guide. I'm here with a good friend, and it's a shame. I mean, you're like, I could drive to your office in a couple
Ow!
minutes. So she's like literally around the corner. Becky Baccellieri has been a friend for God, let's just say 3 years because we're not that old.
Exactly.
So big friend, husband and father-in-law ran the practice. Dad's retired now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so hubby runs the practice, and really great practice. One of those practices I always say, if I remember looking for a dentist, there are only a few offices I would go to. These guys are good people. So we're going to talk scheduling today.
Awesome.
And we're going to talk about it as if the people listening have never done scheduling before, because in this crisis, so many people kind of didn't know how to schedule, didn't know what scheduling was all about, and just kind of was thrown into the fire and did it that way, right?
Right.
That's kind of how you got pulled into this, right?
I did.
The dental mob.
Yep. Dental mob. I'm using that.
Yeah, the dental mob. That's how I got into it. You get pulled in, and then they just say you're not leaving. Or you get to stay home for a couple of days, and they go, "We need you back in the business."
Right. That's great.
Yep. So let's do this. I'm gonna share my screen, open up an Eaglesoft screen here, and we can share, and let's go over here to my full screen, and there is Eaglesoft. You can see my Eaglesoft screen, can't you?
Yep.
Cool. So, and what we're going to do is play around with some stuff here. Now, do you guys, and I can't remember, do you guys have templates in your schedule?
We do.
Okay.
Yes.
And how many columns are in your schedule typically? Because you got a lot of people.
Yeah, we have 9. We have five hygiene and 4 doctor rooms.
Cool. All right. And these guys churn. I mean, they do a lot of business, and they're on roller skates all day long. So these guys, this is a great office to talk to about how this all works. And it's great when I get to go into offices and I know the office. I get a good sense of how their day-to-day kind of applies to everybody else. So now, do you have templates like I have in my schedule? I can't remember.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. All right. And the beauty of this is, and mine obviously is set up for demonstration purposes, but the beauty of this is it gives some structure to the day. It gives you some idea where things should go. And the premise of my first statement was the fact that so many of us are going back into the office who have never really done scheduling before or never really thought about it. And now we're adding time for in between appointments and doing all kinds of new procedures and maybe working with less or more staff. So this is a kind of a good way to kind of look at things. And let's talk about some of the things that are just like obvious, like the orange line that runs through the schedule. And different versions will see and different setups might see it differently. But there is a line that runs through the schedule that's the current time. So everybody, that if you didn't know what the line was, that's the current time going through the schedule.
Andre, is 20?
What's that?
Eaglesoft 20?
This is Eaglesoft 20. Yeah. What are you guys on?
19.
You're on 19. Okay. So I will tell you 21 looks different. And I haven't upgraded to 21 yet, just because I haven't done it yet. But 20, the colors are in individual little boxes. So it doesn't look like a single bar.
Oh.
It looks like little squares. And that's the only thing that I've noticed that was different. But and again, it could have been that person's monitor. I don't know, but the way I saw it, each of those little boxes almost looks like, because if you can see the red there, you can see the line through it.
Yeah.
It kind of looked like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's about all I saw that was different on 21. But like I said, I haven't dug very deep into it. The other thing you're going to see that is this is my custom way of doing things. Not, I think I may be the only person in the whole world that knows how to do this. Is I actually have this hygienist barber actually has 2 lunches. And that's it took a lot of finagling to get that done. But you can I have a lunch break and a dinner break for this hygienist. So it's a kind of a weird setup. But just so people know that, whenever you see my screen, it's always something weird happening because I fool around a lot
Because
with
you're
this stuff.
smarter than the rest of us. Yes.
I have secrets I can't tell people. Otherwise, again, the mob, I'll be in somebody's trunk someplace. Somebody in Effingham will have me, bumped off. So, but one of the things I want you guys to see is, and again, looking at just basics, the top of my screen, this little number up here, and hopefully you guys can see that there is a number here and a number here. So the first number is a scheduled amount. So scheduled procedures in dollars. And then the second number is my goal for the day. If that's not on, we can turn that on there. It's in the preferences and that can be turned on. So just so you know, my goal for the day is $13,000 and I have 0 scheduled, as you can see. How do we get those things to change? We add procedures. And I'm going to jump out to the front desk and go up to list and on schedule and appointment types. And appointment types are critical to the way we schedule. And you guys have CAD CAM, so you schedule with doctor time, assisted time too?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
So if I open up this appointment type, I'm pretty simplistic. I only have a few appointment types. My goal in life is never to have a scroll bar. So I only have a few types in here. But, so I have dentures, emergencies, endo, restorative low, medium, and high. And again, my OCD, I set it up as restorative 1, 2, and 3, because if I do low, medium, and high, it won't put it in order. So I have low, medium, high, but 1, 2, 3. And really that's, this is a 30-minute appointment, a 60-minute appointment, and a 90-minute appointment. That's all I kind of have set up. I have whitening, and then I have my hygiene appointments as new patients, perio-maintenance, perio-scaling, recall child, and then sealants. So I know everything's not in here, but again, this is a demo thing, but just so you guys can kind of get an idea. And let's just take a restorative high appointment, which would be, like I said, actually 120 minutes, and see how this is set up. Now, I have it just so that the doctor's there the whole time. But like Becky was just saying, we could set this up so it shows that an assistance with the patient here. Is that how you guys do it?
That is how we do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So an assistance with the patient, then the doctor comes in, and then the doctor checks out, and then the assistance with the patient. So you can set this up any way you guys want. And, if you want to, you can add your appointment type. So you could have a CAD CAM or CEREC appointment. You can make your own setups. How do you guys have that kind of setup, Beck?
Well, I was thinking about something else. We only have one restore.
Okay.
We don't have all 3. And then we change the time accordingly when we're setting the appointment. Like when the assistant comes out and says she's going to need 6 units or she's going to need 3 units or whatever. Gotcha. We schedule that way. Okay. Which I was just thinking that kind of messes up those provider units.
Yeah.
Because it leaves blank, if it's typically a 40-minute appointment, and you move it to 60, it leaves those last 2 blank as far as dentist goes. So even though we use it that way, I'm trying to decide if I want to make different restore appointments, because that's actually a good idea.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, because I go into so many offices, a lot of offices that I set up will say something like, we do a 5-2-4, just like what you're saying, it's right. Like 5 units, 4 units, 2 units. And I go, well, why don't you just set up an appointment type called a 5-2-4? And now you go like restore 5-2-4, boom. And now you have it. And that way it also takes out some of that, personal choice kind of setups where somebody scheduling decides how they want to set it up, so it really creates some structure to the day. The other thing you're going to see in my setup is I put a dollar value here. So I always said, if I'm going to schedule 120 minutes, I'm going to do a minimum of $2,000.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean that that's what it's actually going to be valued at, because if I actually do put the procedures in the appointment, the procedures will set the price. But without having procedures attached, it automatically defaults to $2,000.
Okay.
So this is great too, because even if doc says, I don't know if we're going to do this or do that, so let's just wait until they come in, but give me an hour and a half. I know that's still value, that hour and a half has a value of $2,000. That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And that happens sometimes for our dollar values. That's interesting because like a kid, a 16-year-old who has 8 fillings, and we're not going to do them all we're not going to have him leaving his whole mouth numb and miserable.
Right.
So, but we don't know what we're going to do because it depends on what we get to. So that's a real good idea as far as the dollar amount, because we don't typically even attach, we just put operative, doctor will decide what's going on, and we don't actually attach treatment. So that's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, and it just, again, for me, when I'm looking at my goals for the day, I'm going, well, I got a minimum of $2,000 that I expect to make out of that appointment, even if it goes 1,500 or it goes 2,200, but at least I got a ballpark of idea of what's going on. So that's kind of how I set that up. And again, for, the crazy Andre world, low, medium, high is light, medium, and dark green. The darker the green, the more money I make, and that's kind of how I set things up. So it's easy for me to see, and it's I kind of minimalize this. But let me switch back over to my schedule, and you can see in my template I just have high dollar procedures, and I just expect that that's what I'm going to do during the day. And then, like Becky was saying, we can modify that, shorten it, lengthen it, whatever, but I just have a general idea when I'm scheduling on that time. I'm going to open this up. It always defaults to restorative right there. So it always defaults to a restorative procedure, and I have it medium, so it's right in the middle. But I don't want my doctor time to default to hygiene, which if I just schedule here, which I know it's not going to be a normal schedule time, but even though I'm scheduling in the doctor's chair, it defaulted to hygiene. So I always put templates in my day, even if it's just a generic restorative. I'm always going to have something scheduled in my day so that it shows up there.
Right.
So that's kind of the basic bones of the schedule. And I know a lot of times when I go in offices, I see the schedule doesn't look right, and people have got blocks in the chairs because somebody moved around, and now the schedule's not looking right, and custom hours have been put in, and I think we've all seen the weird custom hours changing the schedule. So one of the things that happens, and again, we're talking bare bones, is, you really have to work within your list and providers and staff. And you got to make sure that your providers are set up with the proper hours. I'm going to open this up. So I'm going to go to Dr. Beer and edit him and work on his hours. And what has to happen is you've got to go in here and you've got to put the default hours for the provider. All right. So whatever that provider works, and the end time should always be when they expect to be out of the chair, and then the lunch time that they work, and then under the assigned chairs that they work out of. And you can see I just have the one chair that the doctor works out of. I don't have hygiene chairs attached to the doctor. I just have the chair that doctor works out of. So I take my default hours and I apply it to the chair that they work in, and I do select all and I do save, and that connects that provider's hours to those chairs, and that's it. I don't use custom hours. I don't do all that kind of stuff because it just gets confusing to me. And this is easier because, and even if my doctor works out of 2 chairs, I would have his default hours on those 2 chairs, same thing, but I don't connect my providers to hygiene chairs. I don't connect my doctors to hygiene chairs. My hygienists are connected to their chairs. So is that how you guys are set up? Is it
that's how
each column is a hygienist?
And every time,
And docs have 2 chairs?
Yep.
Yeah.
The only issue we have is that, we have one part-timer who works out of different rooms.
Yep.
And I don't have her attached to any chairs.
And that's good. That's good.
I tried to start doing the custom stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm screwing this up royally, and it's just too much of a headache. It's not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the only time I do custom hours is if somebody tells me, like for the summer, like Memorial Day to Labor Day, we do X, then I'll do custom hours for that. But other than that, it's too confusing to me. And I really want to be able to look at my schedule, and I'm going to flip back over to my schedule. I want to look at my schedule and I can see Dr. Gray works to 1 o'clock. And this is a hygienist that he works with. The 2 of them are the original doctor and hygienist in the office, and they both stop at 1 o'clock. So I can look at the day and go, oh, well, can Annie see me at 2 o'clock? No, dummy, she's done it at 1 o'clock. I can immediately see that, and I can say any other hygienist can quickly see you after 2 o'clock, but Annie only works to 1 on the days that we're looking at it. So it's very simple.
Dumb question.
Yeah,
how
go.
did you take because one of our docs only works till 4, so every day hers looks like this. But our background is light pink, and I love the black that you have. Is that just because it's Andre black?
It is now. I right click, and we're going to schedule a setup, and go into setup.
Yeah.
And then closed color right there.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Closed. Okay, perfect.
And what I tell people is try it. And if you don't like it, go back here and fix it, because sometimes it can be really hard on the eye. It depends. Okay. But I mean, I like this dark, it's like charcoal gray or something like that. Dim gray. There you go.
She's not scheduling right there rather than the light pink that we have as our background. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And if it's too light, it's like, oh, maybe I can, Yeah,
exactly. You're right. Especially for new people or for somebody trying to do it who doesn't typically do it. Yeah.
Yep. And the other thing I always do is I always have under my views, and I can see I have a full view. So this is looking at everybody. And then I've got a single doctor view. So this is just one doc and the hygienist that they service. So here's one doctor and the 2 hygienists that they work with. So, I mean, this could be, I could call this my Tuesday view where only one provider's working that day.
Right.
Whatever you give it a name, and that way you can just quickly look down to that one view. It's kind of like, a micro view as opposed to the macro view, the big. Right. Then I've got my clinical view, which is the same exact thing as my full view, but it's a HIPAA compliant view. When I get some patients in here, you'll see the difference. And this view is exactly the same, other than it doesn't have last names, it doesn't have telephone numbers. Same thing as the full view. And then the last one I have is a clear view where there's nothing on it. There's no names, no telephone numbers. I use this. I have an office that is a really huge office, and in their hallway, they have big giant monitors. So they put this view up so that it's almost like the airport view where you're walking down, you can see departures and arrivals, and they can see the entire day without having names. But they can tell from the colors, they can tell from the icons what's going on, but any patient walking by it would have no idea what it meant.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So here, let me show you. I can pull up March 6th. So this is the view that they have in their hallway.
That's cool.
So, I mean, and again, from my colors, I can tell, like Dr. Beer, this is a hard restorative procedure. These are all kind of light procedures. There's an emergency coming in, easy procedure, heavy procedure. All right. But, and there's no mouse in that hallway, but, they can pretty much see there's a new patient because that's gold. There's a new patient coming in, that's gold. There's SRP, perio maintenance. This person has 2 appointments. They're going back and forth. They can see that arrow. So even without knowing any patients, we can tell what's going on. And if they went and grabbed the mouse and hit the AP, they can see which providers are doing what. Right. So one's the departure monitors and one's the arrival monitors.
Right.
So it's pretty cool, just to be able to have different views that you can have for the day. So I'm going to go back to my full view. And let's talk about actually putting some people in here. So talked about the fact that these color bands or templates will actually set the precedent for what kinds of procedures are scheduled. So let's schedule somebody here. Well, actually, let's go here. Let's do a new person. Double click, and we're going to schedule a new person. So here's one hiccup. If you have somebody who calls you and they say, "Hi, we're new to the area. We want to schedule an appointment." If I start from here and I go to my patient list and they say, "Hi, my name is Andre Shirdan." Oh, good. Okay. Shirdan. Oh, it seems like you've never been here before. Well, if the person's never been there before and they may be a dad who has never been in the practice before, they're not going to be on your patient list. They're going to be on your person list and never on your patient list. So if somebody says, "I've never been there before," you're better off going to your front desk, and typing in a name, because this is a person list where if you're in the schedule, it's a patient list. So just be aware that's how duplications happen all the time. If you start from your person list instead of your patient list, you're going to wind up with duplicates. All right. So just FYI, don't start from there. I'm going to grab another person. Let's use the Connors, and let's use Dan. All right. Now, as you can see, I defaulted to a new patient appointment type, and that new patient appointment type, I'm scheduling for an hour, and my hygienist is there for 50 minutes, and my doctor's there for, for 45 minutes and my doctor's got a 15-minute exam. It's just the way I set things up. So new patients in my office, 45 for the hygienist, 15 for the doc. If it was a regular visit, it would be 50 and 10. So let me switch this so you can see the difference between that one and that one. All right. Now it's scheduled in. Now I have my chair called Hygiene Annie. So just so that says Annie doesn't mean it's actually going to be her, but it is scheduled with her. But the reason this shows up is because this is the preferred hygienist for this patient. It has nothing to do with the chair. So let's change patients. I'm just going to grab somebody else. I don't know who's he is. Of course, he's going to have the same hygienist.
Yeah.
Let me try. I'm going to change. She's the boss and she gets all the patients. So let's just change his preferred hygienist to somebody else. And everybody's is going to look different than mine because I have a okay. Now let's try to reschedule. Bada bing. So you can see, even though I'm scheduled at Annie's chair, it's showing up with Tia as the hygienist. And so one thing has nothing to do with the other. And I always tell people, you just have to be aware that, you know, if you're scheduling, you're going to wind up having this. But go back to our provider hours. If I schedule with this hygienist, it should warn me, and it didn't because I don't have this turned on, but it should have warned me that that hygienist does not work in that chair.
Andre, can I interrupt you a second?
You sure can.
I'm trying to click on it, but obviously when you click on that and it said you were in Annie's chair and then underneath it said confirmation note and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
We don't have all that.
Right here?
Now.
You
down
probably
here, right underneath where it says chairs and then confirmation status and then confirmation note.
Yep. It will only say confirmation note if the patient is not confirmed.
Okay.
So once they're confirmed, it changes. Let's see, sending email. Yeah, that's still there. But I know if it goes to confirmed, that goes away.
That goes away. Okay. So I do have that?
Yeah, you should.
Okay.
Yep.
I've never seen that. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I think the only time it changes to go away when it's confirmed, but it should be there.
Okay.
Check when you get a chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be there. And the problem is if you did, I left a message with Timmy. He said he would tell his mom about the appointment. Right. The problem is if it then becomes confirmed, you lose all that.
Right.
So just be aware, but good catch. But it's been there since.
I believe you.
I'm questioning myself now. I think it's been there since version 16 when they changed the schedule. Yep. Oh, there it is. And there's my warning. I have it turned off, but if anybody can see down there, that little, it does say that the provider does not work in this chair. But I just have I have my pop-ups and my alerts turned off. Otherwise, this will drive me crazy. So now that we have this patient scheduled, and let's fix the provider. So we told him that, Tia's not going to be working at that time. She already has a patient. He says, I don't care. I just want to get my teeth cleaned. We can right click and we can change the provider back over to Annie right from here. Now let's add some services. Add services. And hopefully you guys notice that at the top of my list, I have all of my exploding codes. All right. I never want to have to type in anything. I'm that lazy. So I always have my exploding codes as the first things on my list. And the way I get them there is because I put a period in front of all of the exploding codes and in front of all the descriptions. So they're always going to be at the top of my list because they're the most commonly done procedures. So I'm going to grab my new patient adult and use it. Boom. And now I have my charting, my prophy, my FMX, and my comp exam all as part of my new patient visit. And now you can see it's all scheduled with Annie and with Dr. Gray doing the exam. Now, here's a common mistake. We go, okay, well, we don't want Dr. Gray to be the provider. We want Dr. Yellen to do the exam. So what people do is they'll go down here and they'll change to Dr. Yellen. Well, boom. See what happens? It automatically puts Dr. Yellen in the chair with everybody else. Because when you introduce a new provider down here, Eaglesoft has no idea how that could possibly happen, so that it just sticks them side by side. So I'm going to cancel out of this, go back in, grab my services again so everybody sees that as a second time. New patient adult. And now instead of changing it down here, all you have to do is right click on Dr. Gray and change here, Dr. Yellen, and it will fix all the things at the bottom. So I see this all the time where people will change it and then they'll have to go back here and they change the providers and out. But if you change it by right clicking and change the provider here, it will automatically change the procedures at the bottom. Make sense? Have you noticed that?
Yeah, we have. And I have a question on that. Because sometimes when it gets out to walk out up front, you know, they were supposed to see Dr. Carl, and it ended up that Dr. Santana did it because Dr. Carl was in the middle of some big case and whatever, got pulled. And then they just change it at walkout, which that shouldn't be a problem, right? Because we're already over the kind of caring about what all those colors are. Is that accurate or no?
No, and that's fine. And again, because you caught it. And that's fine. The due diligence of catching it is fine. But this is kind of my normal procedure. Every morning when I come into the office, I'm going to hit my AP button to see, and I'm going to look over here and go, oh, Dr. Carl's never going to be able to do that exam. And I'll go here and I'll fix it.
Right. And we do that. I mean, we do that, but that doesn't mean it's always works. But yeah.
Right. And again, the volume of and the speed at which you guys do things, I get it. But you've got a check in place to make sure that those things are checked. And that if the walkout is the time to do it. And, I just did a whole video about proper walkouts, making sure that handoff happens. So somebody says, Dr. Santana didn't do it, Dr. Carl did it, that kind of stuff. When you do that, I'm good with it.
Okay.
But yeah, that
happens. I just actually taught our staff, our schedulers about that, because that whole 3 people overlapping each other, all doing treatment, looks ugly and means nothing.
Exactly. Yep. And, one of the things, let me see if I can see it here, just so people can see it. We'll go back to March 6th. Okay. If anybody sees this color band on my timeline, I don't know, you guys, this may be turned on or off in your office, I'm not sure, but this color band lets me know that my providers are triple booked. So the red means triple booked, yellow means double booked. And one of the things that will happen is you can quickly see where there's going to be some backup, or you can see where somebody's scheduled with, with a restorative procedure when they have a hygiene check to be doing. So if I go to my AP and look at the color bands, I can quickly see like here, this blue line lets me know this doctor's doing that exam, but he's also got a restorative appointment. So if I go across, I can see where there's going to be kind of backups. So like there's an exam here and there's an exam here, but there's also, the doctor's also doing restorative there. So that's why I get these red bars. So this kind of warns you. It's like warning, 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 you're going to have a backup. So you kind of look at that and go, oh, well, maybe can somebody do that exam? Because I'm going to be tied up and I'll go over here and do this exam, but I'm going to be doing this bridge prep over here. So, so that's kind of a warning thing. If you go right click, current setup, right here, it says show double and triple booked information here. So that's one of the ways you could do that.
I'm pretty sure we have that. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to double check that because that's very cool. Because I'm quite frankly, I'm worried about your 2 to 3, Andre, on that. Let's just throwing crap against the wall because we got the Barone kids coming in this afternoon. So. Exactly.
Yep. But yeah, this is a great indication, and especially for new schedulers, this is a great way to kind of look at the schedule and go, oh man, Mrs. Jones called and her, her crown's off. When is it possible for me to get in? And like you said, not between 2 and 3. Don't even think about it. Let's see, maybe 8:30 to 9:20 is a good time to get somebody to come in. That's kind of where, when you haven't done this before, when we see things like that, that's what I think about as practice management software, because now it's managing the practice as opposed to just giving you data. If you don't know what it is, it doesn't mean anything. So. Cool. Let's go back to today. Get back to Ray. Now, Ray calls and says, hey, that time's not going to work. Can I come in any later? Of course, we can pick them up and we can move them to another spot like there. And it's telling me that provider doesn't work in that chair. So I've got to fix that. Hit yes, go in there. And now remember, it was with Tia. We've got to move that to Barbara's chair. And guys, you guys should be doing this to make sure that things are going to work out. And just because I know this office, he's scheduled with Dr. Gray. And remember, Dr. Gray doesn't work after 1 o'clock. So I better put him with a different provider too. All right. So once you start doing that, you'll start to see that when you get these warnings, they actually mean something, because so many times we get the pop-ups and, just ignore them, So we really need to work on how we respond to those pop-ups. So tell me what you guys struggle with the schedule, and let's try to
I'll tell you
questions.
What we struggle with, and I don't know if there's a good answer, and it might just be our abilities or lack. Mm-hmm. So we are now scheduling our new patients a little different and maybe it's actually the right way to do it, and we haven't been doing it right, where Dr. Carl goes in first rather than, so that new patient appointment that you were showing where the hygienist is with them for 45 minutes and then the doctor is.
Yep.
We're now having the doctor in at the beginning for 10 minutes, talking to them, checking out what all the problems are, issues are, saying, yes, you can take x-rays, which is the right way to handle that, and then coming back later to check on things and exactly like that.
Yep.
However, what we have done is, and I don't like it, but it works for our schedulers, is we put actually a 20-minute appointment, or maybe a 15, but right now a 20-minute appointment over in Dr. Carl's chair, so to speak, to say he's going to be in that room, because it's not like he's just running in for a check and going to be in there 5 minutes or 10, because Carl talks.
Yep.
He's going to actually be in there for a while. So we schedule them in Dr. Carl's chair for 20 minutes and then in the hygienist chair for an hour.
Yep. And I like that, as long as everybody knows what's what. And that's why I kind of like having, I'll grab my new patient and let's put that in the other chair. And as long as you've got an appointment type that works, and I know that's not the right one, but I'm going to just for the sake of this conversation, do it this way. I'm going to take that out and just leave doctor in the chair for the 20 minutes. And as long as we're doing that, and what I would do is in your prefix, there's got to be something to just flag everybody that it's there.
Yes, and we do use the prefix, and we use those arrows like you showed a little earlier.
Perfect.
It said he's leaving Dr. Carl's chair to go over to his hygienist chair.
Yep, I love that. Yeah.
And quite frankly, he's not actually moving chairs, just for the record.
Just so you're putting a block in his schedule to let him know it's something there. Yep, I have no problem with that. I kind of like the idea. And again,
but the issue comes with the recalls and all that kind of stuff, because it pulls, and so we've had to kind of make some changes, but that's not scheduling. That's just us trying to figure out what works for us.
Well, and I think a big part of this is we have to make sure that the appointment type says that this, you got to kind of create two different appointment types, because this needs to be a restorative appointment type, even though it's not, but it shouldn't affect recall.
Right.
And I could see where that could.
So we did have some, as we moved through it, we quickly found some issues with it.
Yep. And that's why, a lot of times what I tell people when it comes to anything that we talk about, especially like the crazy stuff to talk about in the field guide, is you got to try it and see how it works, but you have to make sure that you have to look at all the things that it could impact, like you said, like reactivation, recalls, those kind of things. If you're using something like revenue well, see how that might impact something on revenue well as the person getting 2 confirmation calls that, they're not, but those are the kind of things we got to look at. Yeah. And this is where I really hope that in the future, there's some things like the blocks. If those blocks were patient blocks, as opposed to just system blocks, then something like that would really help. So,
Andre, one other thing, and Pam actually showed me this that I thought was great. She watched you do something on booking the family, rather than putting 3 different appointments.
Yep.
That was something totally new to me. Never saw it, and it was very cool.
So I love that. And again, each office has a policy. Our policy in our office was no more than 2 people from a family. So if I right click and I go schedule family, and let's just pick 1 person from the family, Connors. Oops. And let's grab Darlene and hit use. It's going to show me everybody in the family. Let's say everybody needs an appointment, and save them. What it does is it drops them all over here, in the side. And now I can say, okay, so Dan Jr. DJ can come in. He's a kid. We can put him there. I know it's going to yell at me at this. And then Dan Sr. can come in there. All right. And now we're going to go to another day because I don't do more than one person from a family. And then Becky can come in here. And then Darlene can come. I got Roseanne. Roseanne, she's got perio, so she's going to come in here. All right. And because there was only one more kid, so we'll put them right after there like that. There we go. And done.
Right. It's, yeah.
Yeah.
We say 3 people from a family, like a parent with 2 kids, but
yeah.
Unless you burn us, after you burn us once.
That's it. That's when the mob comes to get you.
Exactly.
That's the real dental mob, isn't it? That's my part-time job. I go get people from their houses and bring them in for appointments. Hey, you missed your appointment.
And then the other big problem we have, and we all just have to do it well, is the quick fill.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because quick fill, especially I personally don't like quick fill for hygiene, because hygiene for me changes so much, you know. Oh, I just saw that I have an appointment in 2 weeks and I can't come because whatever, meeting, I'm going out of town, blah, blah, blah. So it fills up so quickly because you don't uncheck that send a quick fill thing when you're moving them or when you're dropping them out.
Yep.
But the operative stuff, you know, there's a lot of operative that gets stuck up there because somebody calls and says they need an appointment and we don't realize that they called 4 weeks ago and canceled that appointment. It got put in quick fill. So that's another thing that our office struggles with, as far as, and I'm sure there's offices that do it really well, but there's so much up there that I end up probably every 6 months going and just dumping all the hygiene quick fill and starting fresh.
Yeah. I'm a hard ass about quick fill, because to me, it has to be quick fill. It has to be something that, you know, it's almost like if I were, and I would never do this. I mean, I actually just bought Post-its because I'm getting old, but I've fought Post-its so much. I've never had Post-its in my office when I worked in a dental office, but it had to be so few things on a quick fill that they would fit on a single Post-it. But you know, for me, I can't have more than my goal is never to have more than a scroll bar worth of information.
Right.
So on here should be 10, 15 appointments that are literally in the queue just waiting for appointments. Now, I know with COVID, we've got some different situations, but with this, I'm with you. I don't really like hygiene on here unless they literally said, you know, call me back if, you know, I really can't schedule at this moment, but I really need to make this appointment. That's the only time I put them on.
Is there a way to not have everything go to quick fill, like that default be checked? Can it not be checked and then you choose? Yeah.
Now you can change the default so it doesn't go to quick fill, but it's 6 of one, half dozen the other. You know, I
feel like we would use it better at our office.
Well, let's see. So you mean, so when you delete, you don't want it to default to go to quick fill?
Right. Because I feel like we would choose to send it to quick fill. For instance, with this COVID thing, I mean, everybody was supposed to be taking it out of quick fill and whatever. There are so many that are sitting there, hygiene appointments.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's terrible. It is, I keep forgetting where to put this.
I can look around in there. If there's a way to unchange it, I'm going to go away as the default, because maybe that would help us. But
yeah, and I don't think that's an option.
Oh, because I'm perfect, so I never send anything to quick fill that shouldn't go.
That's because I trained you. Because that's
exactly. But the staff does.
Yeah. I don't think that there's an option to say don't put it to quick fill. Okay. You know, I think that's.
You really have to uncheck that box.
Yeah.
I need to become a hard ass on that and really start not allowing people to do that.
Yeah, and that's the problem, because quick fill becomes this. It's almost like it's almost like, you know, going to to Cheesecake Factory. You know, you just gotta wait. It's not even real. It's just a list of people. It's not a real thing. So.
Well, and like you say about all of Eaglesoft, just like employers and insurance companies, everything, with the junk that you put in is going to sit there and just make your life harder.
Yeah. Yeah, until you fire that person, you hire a new person, and it's their issue, right? Well, Beck, I appreciate you hanging out with me, and I can't wait till we can actually hang out together.
I know, you got to come see our new office.
I know, and I got to come get some tacos.
Yeah.
I know. I know. But I really appreciate this. Tell Dr. Carl I said hi. Tell everybody there I said hello.
I will, and we're going to get you in soon as this COVID thing's over. We have new staff, and they need to have some Andre in them.
I'm ready to hang out with you guys.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, guys.
You rock. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.